What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special bonus episode of Down Once More. I have Brad join me, and we are here to talk about In Pieces, the Pro Shot concert from Joe's Pub. Joey Contreras' new musical brought a cast together, and it's available for 1 week only on demand. So we thought, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. And Brad, part of the reason I thought it was important for you to join me is because you introduced me to this musical. I had never heard of it before. So thank you.
My pleasure. I really love what social media has allowed for these concept albums and these
Yeah.
like in process musicals and works to be able to get out there and get a following. Because, you know, before social media, we would have had to wait so much longer and for it
Yeah.
to be like actually on a stage near us to get this, or maybe hearing the album, but our access to the creators, the music, the different productions of it is really great. And so I'm just one of the people that has like seen the social media videos, and I think it was a video of Bloom that came across my algorithm first, and I was like, "Oh man, this is good." And that's when I my rule, but I figured since there isn't a
Yeah.
staged version,
Then why the
I
heck
was in the
not?
clear to listen to it, and I love it. I think it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yep. So you introduced this to me in April, and then it dominated my Apple Music replay for all of April and May. I listened to over 1,000 minutes of Joey Contreras on Apple Music in April. So, but let's get into it. This concert they did at the end of May at Joe's Pub
Mm.
in New York. They filmed it, put it out there so more people could experience the show. Then they had two, I believe, sold out shows at Joe's Pub. And so it's here for a week, and let's talk about it. This gave me it's kind of a weird comparison, but it is Joey Contreras, the writer creator, sitting at a piano playing with the band of guitar, drums,
I know what you're going to
bass,
say, and I
and
agree.
then the concert stand tick tick boom vibes,
Yes,
Jonathan Larson vibes.
yes.
Yep. um
Partly
which I
because
thought was
that's the
awesome.
way a lot of these like workshops go,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. And so I thought that was really neat. It was neat to see him kind of talk a little bit more about it and get a little bit more insight, because there is a licensed version of this show that's been out for a while. And Joey Contreras, he says at the beginning, like, it's been in performed in multiple countries, and he only recently did his first kind of production of it. And since then it's been constantly evolving. Like Bloom, which is probably one of the most popular songs from it, I would say, like you said, the one that came across your feed doesn't even exist in the licensed version. So really cool to see how a musical kind of grows from the ground up, and seeing that opportunity to kind of come along for the ride and be a part of that kind of journey. And so Joey Contreras, he describes at the beginning that this musical, it's a love story about the people you don't end up with. So it follows six characters and kind of weaving romantic journeys, he says, through three chapters of life. We don't get to see much of the third chapter in this because it's like an early workshop kind of showing some of it, the highlights album. Like the album that's available, it's just the highlights. So it gives you a little bit of tease, wanting more. You don't get a ton of the story, but it's really cool that he jumps in and gives you a little bit so you know what's going on in the scene, a little more backstory than just listening to it yourself. And a comparison he made, which I swear, I'm not making this up. I made this comparison to someone else, and maybe it was even on here, so there could be video proof that he said it's like Rent meets The Last 5 Years meets Heartstoppers. And I said, I'm pretty sure Rent meets The Last 5 Years. And it made me through Be More Chill in there, because that feels like a musical that's been more modern, really taken off on social media and gotten that push as well.
Well, and especially the bits with Charlie and Gray, I think that high school angst,
Yeah.
really that's where the Be More Chill vibes come in.
Yeah, I would agree. So let's go over the main cast and the main players in this. So kind of as they're introduced, we get the whole cast on stage for the opening songs, and then we're introducing Nathan Levy as Charlie, Stephanie Torrens as Sam, Antonio Cipriano as Peter, Hannah Verdi as Alex, Haley Thomas as River, Julian Diaz Granados as Tinder Jacob is how he is listed in the cast list. Jacob Martinez as Gray, Nick Pataki on guitar, Joshua Roberts on drums, and Sean Murphy on bass, and of course Joey Contreras on the piano and narrating in there. So I thought this was a really cool setup. I think we had talked about, let's kind of talk about what we really enjoyed about the production. So I'll let you take it away first, Brad.
Yeah, so what I think is consistent from the album to the production is the music is absolutely infectious. I mean, the band was great, the recorded album is great, but that live energy really carried through in this performance, and the vocals were absolutely top notch. Everybody absolutely killed their parts, and so the music is just, obviously that's the main reason we're here, but it was all incredibly performed, incredibly done from an already infectious, really like driving album. I thought that was really great. And to go along with that, the I think it can be a little difficult when you're doing like theater as concert. And to what extent do you act? To what extent do you perform? And I think that almost all the cast members really, really walked that line well, and the emotion came through. Their performances were powerful. It was stellar. So those two things really stood out. And I just have to say, this was my first time, I think, with seeing Antonio Cipriano, and he absolutely stood out to me as an absolute star. He was incredible every time he opened his mouth, every time he sang. It just locked in. He was absolutely incredible. So those are the big kind of performance things for me that stood out. You kind of mentioned Joey Contreras talking between songs. That was a big thing for me, because the quality was so high that it was almost like listening. If I closed my eyes, it was almost like listening to the album, but with Joey Contreras filling in some of the narratival gaps in between. I thought that was really important. And I don't want to give anything away, because I want people to go out and pay the $15, support the musical. But there were a couple things from just listening to the album that I was like, so wait, where does this fit? Where are we? Who's with whom? Like, what's going on with this that didn't quite click just listening to the album, that he gave just a couple sentences that really placed for me what was going on and kind of put the pieces together, that I thought was really helpful. And the last thing I wanted to say is what really kind of pervades this entire album, and what I think carries it, is the fact that that sense of longing and pain mixed together is really something that resonates and you can connect with. It's one of those, what do they say? Art can be either a window or a mirror. And this is, I think, a mirror, even if you're not living through the same life situations that these people are. The feelings of love, longing, loss really, really resonate. And it's so raw and real that I think it's incredibly powerful, and a tremendous feat by Joey Contreras in writing these songs.
I would agree. I think that's what I usually gravitate towards in musicals, ones where it's not necessarily, and we don't know where this goes, maybe it is a happy ending for all the characters, but they're not perfect characters. They're going through a bumpy road. So like you think about Rent and Tick Tick Boom even, and Next to Normal, which we talked about recently, which is one of my favorites, and The Last 5 Years. I'm a big Last 5 Years fan. Haven't quite gotten you on board yet with that.
I'm going to give it a try this summer. I'm going to come back around.
Okay. I'm going to hold you to that. But that's what, like, these showing, kind of depicting real messiness in relationships, for lack of a better word, that doesn't seem too polished and perfect. And I have to agree with what you said about Antonio Cipriano. Was first introduced to him on a different kind of highlights album for a musical in the works, on In the Light, A Faustian Tale, from Michael Mott, which has Jeremy Jordan as well. And when I was first introduced to him in that, I was blown away, especially on the song Dare to Dream, which, as musicals ever grow and evolve, has been cut from that musical now and reworked, which it was one of my favorites, but I trust the creative process. He said he's replaced it with something better. So we will see. But he's great in that. He was on Broadway in Jagged Little Pill, the Alanis Morissette musical, as Phoenix, part of the original Broadway cast of that. And he's been in a number of things. He was in the National Treasure Disney Plus spinoff um, which I have not watched, but he's enigmatic and just captivating, and he is fantastic in both of the songs that he leads in here. And I think one thing for me that stood out a little bit more kind of with the interludes was going into Love Wildly and building that story. So again, another plug, go check it out for yourself, support it, it's worth it. And you said things so well, I'm not going to add too much more on that. So let's get into what were your favorite songs to see. Oh, no, I do have one more thing. I also have to give a shout out to both Nathan Levy as Charlie and Jacob Martinez as Gray. Were fantastic. And I do think it helped seeing the concert setting, because on especially the Highlights album, the extended one that's out recently, the people who are performing the different roles changes. So you can't say, oh, if this person's singing, it's that role. They bring in some different people. So he brings in like George Salazar to sing This Is Not Me.
Yeah.
And it's so good. And I love George Salazar, Michael in the Bathroom, one of my favorite musical theater songs. But Jacob Martinez's Gray was just so heartfelt and had such a great voice. And I really enjoyed the chemistry between him and Nathan Levy in A Classroom Duet too, which is one of my favorite songs from it. But your favorite songs?
Yeah,
Go.
so my favorite songs, I could make a case for more than what I'm about to name. But the ones that it was just like, all right, if you have to, like, if I can only have 5,
Mhm.
and I'm really locking it down, I'm going to take Fork in the Road. I think that's a great bookend.
Which version?
So
you're
both
taking
of them.
both?
I'm gonna take them
the whole
both.
thing? Okay.
Because they're both fantastic way to introduce you to that like loss and love, and then close out. And I'm really interested to see how he fills in when we get to a full length, because in my understanding of the licensed version is that it's a 1 act, and I'm hoping that he develops it into a full 2 act play. That'd be phenomenal. But and just the line, I wondered if left was the right was the left way, kind of encapsulates one of those. First of all, it's incredibly poignant, but a great wordplay that I think sets up the questioning that these characters go through. Did I make the right choice? What if? That carries through. Really great. Bloom, already said, Bloom is a great just a great duet, and it's playful, and it really introduces who these characters are in a really succinct and tight way, but you get a sense of their personalities, you get a sense of what drives them, and it's incredibly well done while still being just a great infectious song. Love Wildly, the way that is kind of, those two couples are kind of intertwined together there, is really well done. It's a really beautiful song. There's some really great words, and everything about it meshes, and that's the closest I think that this musical comes to. We've talked about it, that thing I love about musicals, that really frenetic dialogic, everyone stepping on each other's lines, but it all fits together, that a lot of musicals do. Love Wildly, I think, is kind of the closest In Pieces gets to that kind of tenor. It doesn't do that very much, but Love Wildly has those parts working together, done really well. I don't know why, and I don't know where in the world this fits. This next song is from that weird part in the narrative from what we have in this Highlight style album, but Ohio is killer.
I love Ohio.
And I loved Joey Contreras' introduction to it, in the production that you guys have to check out. But it made it feel like, okay, this is one of those songs that he knows slaps, and he just knows it needs to go in there somewhere. So interested to see, but Ohio is so good, and just the melody of Ohio just stuck in my head every time I listen to that song. I can't get out of my head. And then In Pieces rips my heart out. That is absolutely one of the most poignant love
Hmm.
songs that I can think of, because that's really more how we have it, most people experience love.
Yeah.
I think the fairy tale, everyone's happy, everything's great kind of love songs feel good
Hmm.
because it's what we all want. And In Pieces is what we've all experienced.
Yeah.
And so if I could only pick five from the musical, that would be my list.
Solid list. I don't have a ton to add from that. But another plug for watching this, he intros it saying that the last time he played at Joe's Pub was over 10 years ago, and he played a new song he'd written, In Pieces. And then at the very end of it, after the credits, it has video from 2010, him playing In Pieces. They wrote
Incredible.
the night before. So that
It's
alone
incredible.
is worth checking it out for, just to see that journey that it's been on. Um, Additional songs for me, uh just tacking onto that so we can knock out and grab almost all the songs from this album. uh I really like Get Up and Go, part of like Antonio Cipriano's energy. And one thing I
Yeah.
don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, doesn't exist on the album is Stephanie Torrens coming in at the end of that too,
Mm,
and them having a little bit duet notes there, coming to a realization of their relationship. I thought that was really neat to see played
yeah.
out in the concert. um I really enjoy, well, enjoy is the wrong word because it just wrecks me, but This Is Not Me, that's sung by Gray, and just the delivery at the end when he's like, so screw it, it's fine, line up another line, just finding that, like, those ways that he's coping with these complicated feelings and just kind of a little bit of self-loathing and everything, I feel like is so powerful and so emotional. um
I just to put in
mhm,
butt in right there. I didn't necessarily resonate or think that Gray's character was going to stand out to me too much in this concert, but Jacob
yeah,
Martinez absolutely killed it, and
yeah,
his performance of that song has me very invested in how Gray's character arc is once
yeah,
this hits the stage.
yeah. A couple songs that exist on that Highlights album that do not exist in the concert, which could either be because they've been cut as he's constantly developing and reworking the musical, or just, hey, we have a set amount of time we're doing this in. We're not going to be able to get through everything, and we want to hold some stuff back. And those two songs are Love Me Not, which is performed by David Archuleta on the Highlights album of good old American Idol fame. I think that's back when we were watching American Idol at home with our parents.
It was the two
Uh,
Davids, Archuleta
mm-hmm.
and Cook.
David
We
Cook.
voted for David Cook.
That's right. His performance of Eleanor Rigby, one of my favorites on the season. I remember that. Um,
Ah, look at all the lonely people.
and then also, Like You Don't Miss Me is the other one that was left out of the concert. And that song does have a lot more like techno pop vibe. So that
Yeah,
could have just been a logistical thing. They're like,
yeah.
it doesn't make sense to try to make this work in this concert setting. But I don't know. It's another thing that has me invested and hooked, and I want to see what else comes of the story. So what are some things that you're excited to see in the future of this musical, or excited to see filled in, or that you have questions about still?
Yeah, I think for me, the big one is the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the actual story right now in its current iteration? I think that it feels kind of patchwork. It feels like Joey Contreras has all these incredible songs, and he kind of put them into a rough narratival shape. But what that actually looks like to me isn't quite clear, and I'm really
Yeah.
interested to see how that comes together. I think, um, and like I don't want to say it's a flaw or a weakness until it's in that
Yeah.
full full version. So I want to see how that comes together specifically as it stands right now in this shot. I feel like Alex and River and what Tinder Joe or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
uh those characters feel disconnected from the
Yeah.
rest of what's going on. So it's not quite sure how they overlap or fit
Mm-hmm.
with Peter and Gray and Charlie and Sam.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like two completely separate things that
Mm-hmm.
don't quite connect with
I
one
get that.
another. And so I want to see if that's actually incorporated more. Um, and then the there's a 4-year jump at a point, and that helped a lot hearing the concert and hearing the explanation, because
Yeah.
you hear Peter singing, 4 years, 7 months, 2 weeks, but who's counting? And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, is this a different? What's how long they
Different
just
thing.
met? I
Yeah.
don't understand. And so hearing there's been a huge jump, but that the jump kind of skips over a lot that
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see if that just feels like a seamless, like if that's where the act break is going to be, then you come back and they're older and he still weaves them together. But the way it sits right now, when they make that jump, everyone seems pretty scattered and separated.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how that is going to fit. But
Mesh. Yeah.
ultimately, I have high hopes for the staged production of this. There's
Yeah.
sometimes when these concept albums come out that they don't feel feasible on stage. You
Yeah.
and I have talked about this elsewhere, but that Odyssey musical, Epic the Musical,
Yeah.
it's very ambitious. But boy, that would be a massive undertaking if you were to try to put that on a stage.
Yeah.
This one feels very doable, right? Like it's a
Agreed.
limited cast, it's a really well put together and tight orchestration. You can put that on. You can
Mm-hmm.
do that. You can perform that well. And so I just how that comes together to for the stage performance, I'm very interested in.
Yeah, I would agree. I have the same thoughts. Like you said, this is one that is set up to be able to scale
Mm-hmm.
well and transfer, and be on Broadway and be actually produced. Like that's one of the issues Michael Mott had said with that In the Light one that been invested in for a while, is that it's so massive, it would be so expensive to produce, and that's where they're running into some roadblocks with that. This one, like you said, it's a pretty confined cast. You got a 6-person cast, 7 counting Tinder Jacob. Right? Or does he fall in the 6th? Anyways, no, he's not.
I
He's
think
the
he's
7th.
7.
But that's like
Tinder
similar to Next to
Jacob.
Normal, a very like a condensed cast
Mm-hmm.
to pull together. And so I'm really excited to see where this goes. Goes to Broadway, New York trip. Down once more, goes to New York.
Easy. I'm in.
Boom.
I
Nailed
would
it.
absolutely go.
I was this close. So I was at a work conference in Rhode Island the day after this happened, and if you would have exposed me
Oh
to this
no.
sooner and there would have been tickets available and it wouldn't have been sold out almost instantly like it was, then I would have seriously considered like taking a train New York
I can't
the day
believe
coming
this is
back.
somehow my fault. That's
It's
bullshit. No
that's
way.
not what I was saying. I was saying if the
That's what you
stars
said.
I was
You
saying if the
said if
stars
you
would have
would have
aligned,
exposed
if
this
the
to
stars
me
would have
sooner.
aligned a little better.
You said the other
No,
thing first.
I owe it to you that I am aware of this musical at all. So thank you. I don't really have any other notes to say on it. I think we've covered some of the highlights. Go watch it. It's
Yeah, please,
$14.99.
please. It's well worth your time, well worth your attention. And I really hope that there's just I mean, I think there's already a big following, but I think there's
Yeah.
even more. And anybody from the cast, the band, whatever, if you see this, we would love to hear more about what it was like. I just saw some of the clips of
Mm-hmm.
like their rehearsals. It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, to be in that freaking room. I would love to hear what it's like being at that stage of development of such a
Yeah.
cool musical. So let us know.
Great.
Let us know in
Let
the
us know.
comments.
You're always welcome to come on the pod. The more, the merrier, as I
Hey,
always say.
if you have me on, anybody's welcome.
That's right. That's right. But thank you all. Hope you enjoyed. Go to inpiecesmusical.com or you can go to their Instagram, find the link, go, like I said, worth your money, worth your time. It's a little over an hour. I will probably be watching it multiple times this week while it's available.
Yeah, do we lose it after this
I
week?
think he said it's only available for a week, only available through the 9th. So yes, this is
So
my understanding. Limited
I'm gonna-
time.
Yeah, that's going to be on repeat.
Yep. So thank you all. Go support Joey Contreras and the development of the In Pieces musical. Follow us. We got this Wednesday's podcast episode is what's new to streaming in theaters in June. So if you're looking for something new to watch, check out this month. Come back to the pod on Wednesday. And then, I don't know, Brad will have to come on. We'll do some movie review this month. I'm not sure what.
I feel
We've
like
talked about
we
Cinderella's
talked about Complete
Castle.
Unknown.
We talked about Complete Unknown. We talked about the Star Kid one, Cinderella's Castle.
That's right.
We've talked about both of those. So we'll see. Stay tuned. It will most likely be one of those. So thank you all. Like, comment, share. Tell us your favorite song and what you took away from the In Pieces concert in the comments. Let us know what your favorite was and how many times you've watched the concert film. And person who's watched it the most times gets a shout out on the next episode. So
it's going to be one
like,
of us.
Comment, like, comment, share, subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts, YouTube. Thank you all. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.